back to the OTC podcast. I'm Tarun Verma.
And I'm Abby Koenig.
So, Abby, I had sent you this article on CNN called Why Do Women Fail?
Yes.
It's a great article by Carol Dweck and Rachel Simmons. What did you think of it? Kind of walk us through the article.
I thought it was great. I've read about this in other places that it's sort of this weird paradox because girls in school traditionally do better. Mm-hmm. They score higher on tests, et cetera, et cetera. More women are in college nowadays. But for some reason, there's still that gap between women succeeding in the workforce and men succeeding. And this article really goes through some of the reasons why. And specifically, it starts talking about how girls are treated differently in school than boys. And I've read about that before as well, that it's not so much that boys are called on because they're smarter, because they have the answers. It's almost that they're called on more in the classroom by teachers because they are acting up or they're not working to their potential, and the teachers see that, as opposed to girls who are usually kind of quiet and they do what they're supposed to be doing, so they're not getting called on for those reasons. And then that is sort of, seems like a kind of a snowball effect.
Yeah, so they were talking about that when the girls do get called on, it's a bigger deal because it's less in frequency than it is with guys, right?
Right.
You're constantly getting slapped on the hand as a guy. So when you do get called on, it's like, well, whatever, I can give a bad answer, it's fine. But with girls, there's that need to be, that expectation almost to be perfect.
Yeah.
And that was really, I think, what hit home with this. And that's just, I don't know where you get that from. It all starts because you think about school. Before school, you have parents, right? So as parents, I don't remember seeing my girl cousins being treated differently than I was. Fine, they were more mild-mannered than I was. I was obnoxious. I wasn't constantly, I don't know, I didn't see that as kids, though.
Well, I can't speak to... I grew up with only girls, so I don't really know how that, my parents would have treated us differently. But I definitely always felt like there was a large amount of pressure to do well. And I do remember having guy friends who would get called out of class or called on, for things or for goofing around. And I never understood, how could you just goof around in school like that? Why don't you take it more seriously? But maybe because they were getting called on more and kind of like we're saying, getting called out for their, I don't know.
So does it come down to where they're innately, girls are just more serious than guys? Because I remember you're saying how could you be so goofy? When I was in school, that's all I thought it was. Yeah. I thought it was just one big playground with my buddies. You're in class and you're just I have to be here until recess gets called, and then we're going crazy and we're going to have fun and play basketball and whatever. So is it just innately that women are just kind of have that thing there, or what?
Yeah, I think so. Serious? I think that, I don't know if it's a more serious or if it's, we just, even as kids, boys wrestle and punch each other and kick each other, and girls braid each other's hair. We're just more mild-mannered and maybe a little, I don't know if girls are quieter or shyer or...
But see, then it goes into this second concept where they talk about the two mindsets. Now, this is where...
This is very interesting.
Where I'm not able to make that connection from what we're just talking about to this, where women have a fixed mindset versus growth mindset. So how does that develop differently?
So basically the article is saying the fixed mindset is where they believe that their basic intelligence cannot be improved, as opposed to a growth mindset where it's I just need a challenge and I'll keep going.
Right.
And that, I think, comes down to your self-esteem. And maybe with this fixed mindset, it's I don't know, I'm at this level and I can't get past it. And if you sort of shoot me down, then I'm just going to keep going downhill, as opposed to this growth one of
keep falling.
Yeah, I'll fall, but I'll get back up, kind of a thing. And I don't want to be go in a sexist direction, but maybe sports has something to do with it.
Oh.
That I don't know, maybe because boys are more encouraged to.
That's a really good point. I didn't think about sports that way because I grew up with sports, and I remember sucking at a good amount of my sports, but the mentality, again, is a growth mindset. Keep going, kid. You didn't make this goal, you'll make the next one. It's fine. And you know how soccer is. So I grew up initially with soccer.
Yeah.
And it is insanely hard to score a goal. And I remember, I don't remember making the goal that I ever made. I think I played 4 seasons as a kid in the YMCA. I made one goal. I don't remember it, but I remember the 7 times I missed it.
Right.
Where it got blocked or where I just just missed it. I just, blew it out. And so, but I remember those because I remember people looking at me going, it's all right. There's next time. Work harder, train better. You'll do better next time.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. Sports.
I wonder if that has something to do with it. I would say I have a reverse story of that. I played in band for all of my elementary school, middle school, and I was really good in elementary school. And I got to middle school and it kind of plateaued and got to high school and I stopped being first chair and I was surpassed by some guys, which is fine, and I gave up. I stopped playing instruments in high school.
Why?
I just was like, oh, I'm not very good at this. So I guess I should stop. Whereas I kind of also stopped practicing and stopped trying to get better. I don't know.
But where does that come from? So like sports I can definitely see a connection where sports leads to this growth mindset.
Yeah.
But for women, this fixed mindset, where does that come from then? How do you just grow up and just say like, I'm awesome at this, and until someone shows me that I'm not awesome at it, then, that's it?
I don't know.
That's really interesting.
I think it's interesting too. Like, I wonder, I really think it comes down to self-esteem. Like, maybe, I don't know.
But you can see this practice all the way from like 5-year-olds to like 20-year-olds.
Yeah.
I mean, self-esteem is always going up and down through your teens. Really, until you're 10, you don't even have self-esteem because you're just a kid, right? You don't know, you're not self-aware, but you still see these patterns though in younger kids as well.
I don't know. It's very interesting because they talk about this study where 5th grade students were given a task to learn that intentionally confused them at first, and it was girls who were derailed by the confusion and unable to learn.
I thought that was mean.
Yeah, it's kind of a mean study for sure, but the girls were smarter. So it's even more so. It's I don't know, like maybe
are they almost too smart for their own good? Because that's what I was kind of thinking. It was like men are. I almost believe that. I definitely believe that women are smarter, but guys are just dumb to the point where like if we don't get it, we'll keep going and going and going and going, and eventually something's gonna stick. Persistence is the winner above intelligence. Is that when you kind of streamline it all down? Is that what that really is saying?
I think so. I mean, I think that's true in life. Persistence is definitely trumps intelligence. I mean, think of all the people that are obviously not people who are scientists or whatever, but like people who are celebrities or like they just try to put themselves out there a lot. Doesn't mean they're actually good at anything, really.
That's true.
I mean, and maybe it's the way we treat little girls versus little boys. Little boys, like go climb up that tree, fall down, you'll be fine.
Keep going, yeah.
But little girls, don't climb up that tree. Like you're gonna hurt yourself, or I don't know, sit in your room quietly with your Barbie dolls and.
Maybe you should put them out more.
Maybe that's the answer. Just push them to.
Well, then also at the same time, I just realized so girls generally are innately more emotional, right? So rejection and denial and really making F's or any of the sort don't hit hard on guys. Initially, they do. I remember when I transitioned from being the A student, whenever that was, down to the C student that I eventually became. The first few times it was a shock. After that, I was like, all right, yeah, I'm just gonna accept that I'm a BC student, but I'm gonna keep going. That's just how it is. With girls, you don't really see that necessarily. Like when they fail at something, they take it hard because they're emotional, right? Anything, no matter what it is. Projects, grades, relationships, you kind of just see it all together. But I don't know. That's just why be so scared?
Of the students that I teach, the ones that come back to me and like get upset about their grades, they're always girls. Very rarely do I have a male student come to me and complain about, or try to fight me on a grade or anything like that. And I don't know if that's, do they care less? I don't think that that's what's going on. I don't think it's that they care less. I think that it's, I don't know.
It's respect for the rules. Because I remember the same thing you told me. I've always been very shy about fighting grades on tests through college. I remember doing that. But I had a roommate who, for the smallest reason, would challenge. He'd just show up there 8 a.m. Monday morning at the TA hours and be like, why? No, this isn't right. And I was like, why are you arguing your points back? You made an 82 to begin with.
Right.
Like, I'm the one with a 72. I should have done something. But he's there. He's fighting every single time. He comes back and goes, I just got 3 more points. I was like, holy crap, you ended up with an 85? How'd that happen? It's just that attack mindset.
Persistence, yeah. It's interesting. And I think that there was another part to it that I thought was really, really interesting. Well, we're saying that boys learn to cope with criticism, and you're saying that too. Like, that, girls take it so much harder, and maybe it's because they're not criticized as much.
Well, here in the article, it also says starting in infancy, parents tend to give boys more praise. Really? Over girls? Like girls don't get enough praise as infants, as children? Really?
I keep reading these articles on all these mommy blogs now because I'm on all these mommy blogs about like you shouldn't tell your daughter she's pretty, you should tell her she's smart, you shouldn't tell her she's looks good in that dress. And I actually have a problem with that. Like tell her she's smart, but she can be pretty too. That's fine. Why is that so bad? But maybe it's causing problems that we don't realize by saying, "Oh, you're pretty," and to your son saying, "You're smart and strong." I mean, that's
a really good point. That's a very, very good point. You don't know where to take it. I think there should be good moderation of both. I think there should be a healthy amount of, sweetheart, go ahead and go run up the tree, and if you fall and, like, you know, your knees are all bloody, that's fine. We'll take care of it. That's cool. Go do that. But at the same time, you're also gorgeous. You're beautiful. But I think you gotta have a balance, right?
I think so, too.
If you overdo anything, it's going to lead to problems. If you're one of those dads who's like, yeah, son, football, basketball, yeah, well, you're kind of training the kid to be a jock mindset from a very early age. But if you also sit them down and show them like the piano and show them this, then that just makes them a well-rounded person. And at some point, the kids are going to become what they become, right? Yeah. It's the rest of society that's going to help shape them and all that jazz. But that's a good point.
But there is that, I mean, it's kind of that nurture over nature, which I always feel like everything comes down to. I don't know what's right, nurture or nature. I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah, and coping with stress. So they move on into the article and talk about, in 2013, the National College of Health Assessment reported that 89% of college women felt overwhelmed by their workload. And that's a full 15% more than men. I think men are innately just lazy, so we're better about handling stuff like that.
That could be, it could be a lazy thing, or it could be, again, not taking it as seriously, or just, I could kind of let this roll off my back, it'll be okay. But yeah, girls do stress the hell out, and they internalize it.
They internalize it, and
but guys internalize too, don't they?
We do, but we eventually take a page out of Ferris Bueller's Day Off, you know, and we just learn to just say F it and just enjoy the day. Girls, more than often than not, will not do that. Yeah. Even when they should. Like, you'll hit a point where you're just so stressed, where you're just like, you know what, I should be doing A, B, C, D, and E. Screw it, I'm going to go to the movies. And I'm going to go have a drink. Yeah. You know, guys will do that. They'll be like, whatever. I'll figure it out later on. But girls never do that. I've never seen a girl just be like, yeah, I got like a giant stack of stuff there to do, but I'm not going to do it. No. Girls are always just like, oh my God, I got to do it. They may spend 4 hours looking at it and freaking out over it. Yes. And procrastinating. But guys will legitimately be like, I'm going to go to a frat party. Yeah. This is fine. But that doesn't happen with women, though. And I think that's part of it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's certain women who do that. But I think by and large, like, we like our lists. We like crossing them off. We like getting our stuff done. We are up at night thinking about the things we have to do the next day. My husband is never up at night being like, oh no, I forgot to set the coffee in the morning. Like, right. He doesn't care. He'll just go out, pick up a coffee.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. It's really fascinating. I think it's a really interesting study on. I don't know what you do about it. Like,
honestly, I don't have solutions. I think it's a great analytical piece. I remember there was another article I had read about, because I'm always keeping my eye and ears open in the medical field and all that. Sure. They're talking about now more than ever, because more women have gone to med school. There are, in fact, I think more women in med school now than there are men. But yet, and so those women tend to marry doctors too, because you just tend to marry who you're around, right? Mm-hmm. So in these families where you have two doctors, the women tend to actually maybe practice on average maybe 10 years tops, and then they retire. They're done.
Really?
Because, again, there was the same article talked about the stress levels of doctors and saying it's been higher than it's ever been before. More doctors, I think it was overwhelming, something like 82% of doctors do not recommend going to medical school and doing what they did, choosing an alternative route altogether, because the healthcare industry is so overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. It's so jam-packed. Doctors are having to see patients literally in 15-minute blocks. And it's gotten to a point where it's just too stressful. Yeah. Back then, a doctor's job was really cush. 2-hour lunches, this and that. Now it's just to make the same amount of money, you got to do almost 4 times the work. And women aren't able to handle it. They'll go through med school, they'll do the residencies, they'll do the rotations, and then at some point they're just like, I'm done. I'd rather just be at home with kids. That was a big thing. They chose to just stay at home with kids. And these are women who studied all through their 20s.
Right.
All through their 20s. Very educated people, and they were just like, done. We're done.
That's fascinating.
Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow. And again, same thing. Disapproval rates of the profession were higher than they are at the highest they've ever been. And it affected women a lot more hardly than men. So that was a little interesting bit there. I was like, really?
I could see that. I mean, I could see, I don't know. I was in an incredibly stressful job, and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. But I would think that would be pertaining to everybody, but maybe it's more of a female thing than...
Yeah, but see, for guys, right, we don't have an out per se. And again, I'm being taken a step back from it all. We don't have an out from it. You guys have an out because you have kids. You can choose motherhood, and no one can really... I know. Go ahead and
some gender... fight that could happen now.
There is, definitely. I want a good discussion on this because I've seen it. I'm only throwing back what I see. A lot of women in really great jobs will opt to do the motherhood thing because they're just like, I'm burnt out of work. Let's just do something different altogether.
Yeah.
And again, I don't think that's... It's not necessarily a bad thing about saying anything about women in general, but just saying that you guys have an out, we don't. We have to...
Well, unless you're in a type of relationship where your wife wants to work and the husband is free to stay home.
But again, that's a lifestyle. I love seeing that. But again, it's a very small part that is growing, and I think in about 10, 20 years, we'll see a lot of it.
Yeah.
You know, guys day trading, doing whatever, but they're taking care of the kids. They're the ones picking them up. They're the ones dropping them off.
Yeah.
But we don't see that just yet because still more than not, again, most of my friends, females, professionals, dentists, doctors, engineers, they all opt to kind of hang it up when motherhood comes because they're just, especially if they work really stressful jobs. I think if they have really cool jobs, they tend to stick around. I have seen that, definitely. I think the women who've thrown in the towel, or at least for now, again, this is a work in progress. They're in their late 20s. They may go back to work in a couple of years, which they probably will. But for now, they did not hesitate to throw in the towel and be like, I got kids. I'm cool. I'm staying home for a little bit.
Yeah, which I think that's a new-ish. We could talk about this for hours and hours, but I think that's sort of a newish trend as well. Like what I've read, I mean, during like 70s, 80s, when everybody's mom was like, forget this, I'm going to have a job and you can go let yourself in and here's a snack.
Right.
But now in the past decade, women are having children and not going back to work because they don't want to go back to work.
Yeah, they don't want to.
And maybe it's a stress thing. Maybe it is.
The way I come from it is the stress thing. I don't think necessarily that women are just like, I'm going to stay home with kids.
Yeah.
I think it's generally if you have...
Because it's worse, I'll tell you. I want to go back to work. I can't even wait. It's going to be awesome. You can sit and eat an entire meal. No one screams in your face. I'm excited for it.
I don't know. Yeah, well, maybe it's just a change of scene. I know that if you let me raise the kids for a while, I'd be like, yeah, it'd be probably cool for a year.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure at the end of the year, I'll probably be going crazy. I'll be like, okay, you know what? Let me go back to work.
Yeah,
this
was
cool,
deal with.
But that's cool too. So I guess maybe that's just what it is. And like I said, most of these girls that are my friends and that have kids and everything, they're in their late 20s. Yeah. So right now they're sort of enjoying motherhood. Really, most of their kids are year 1, year 2 or something. Now when they come to year 4 and 5, then it'll be interesting to revisit this whole conversation, see how many of them went back to work and was like, thank God.
Yeah.
They're in preschool, they're in kindergarten, get them out of here.
All I want to do is talk to a human being as opposed to speaking very high pitched.
Well, now that I think about it, at work, I have nothing but females that work with me, and they're all mommies who I think are pretty much at that point. Their kids are either between 5 and 10, and they're glad they're at work. And I think that eventually is what will happen. It's just I'm surprised that no matter. I always linked education with having kids later on and maybe not being a stay-at-home mom. I always kind of linked that. I was like, if you're going to go through a job and you're going to spend 7 to 8 years or 10 years or even go through the doctor route and go that long, you're going to want to spend minimal time at home just because you invested so much of your life into this alternate thing, your profession.
Career, yeah.
But I'm just always surprised how many are able to throw in the towel after all that and be like, yeah, it's okay.
I don't know. I definitely have read articles about it. This is a recent trend with women. And I don't know, trying to tie it back to the CNN article, maybe that's a part of it. Maybe it's you know what, this is stressful and I hit a plateau or this challenge in life is too hard for me. But I know that I can take care of my kids and there's no boss or no teacher or whatever to tell me you're doing it wrong. I mean, plenty of people tell you you're doing
wrong.
It
wrong. Right.
But you know that you're doing it the best. Nobody's saying, hey, drop out of being a mom.
your stress is your own induced stress.
Exactly.
It's not a boss stress. It's not deadline stress. It's like
a baby stress.
It's baby stress,
bad.
right?
It's just totally bad.
I
but
mean,
it's very different.
I'm not saying that stress is easier or anything like that.
It's not deadline driven, buzzwordy,
it's not,
whatever.
Exactly. I think it's a whole different change of pace that I think is it's nice. I think that's what it is. We all want to change. And I think, it was funny. I'm a big Bill Maher guy. I love Bill Maher. I love his show. And the last show he had, I think it was 2 weeks ago because he's on a hiatus right now. He talked about, there was a Ford commercial with Neil McDonough on it or whatever, talking about how Americans don't take time off from work. It was this controversial
I heard about
commercial.
this.
Do you think? Yeah. Okay, so Bill Maher ripped this guy a new one back when it came out, and he did it again, just for some odd reason again, 2 weeks ago. And he was like, this ad is everything wrong with America, he was saying. Because in the commercial, he was like, we don't need to take time off from work. We're hard-driven people because we go and we get what we want and this and that jazz. And he goes, we're also, and Bill Maher was like, we also have the highest illness rates.
Yeah.
Most countries take August off. August. I didn't know this. I was like, really? The whole countries will take August off? Yeah. I was like, that would be amazing. It's so hot down here. I would love not being able to go out. And he was like, this is the problem. We don't take enough time off. If it's screw August, we don't even get enough time off at our jobs. And I can definitely attest to that. I don't get enough time off from my job. That's why we're so wound up so tight.
Yeah.
These 40-hour, what is it in Europe? Again, I also heard about like 30-hour or 35 hours is like a full-time week or whatever. I was like, gee, that sounds awesome to me.
Yeah, you have like paid maternity leave for like 6 months.
Yes.
Paternity leave.
I heard even paternity leave's like a good month or something, which here it's like a couple days or something at best.
If that,
if you get it.
It's very different. This is a stressed out nation, and it's not even like we're doing awesome. I mean, we're doing fine. It's a great country. We're doing fine. But if you look at test scores,
no.
Education,
like that, we're not doing great. Jobs and everything, we're doing fine. Job growth's been higher than it is. Houston, actually, I think it was an article I read about a month ago saying for every one job we lost back in 2007, we've created 2 in Houston.
It's pretty crazy.
I think it was Fareed Zakaria was talking about it in an interview. And I was like, wow, really? So it's not jobs. It's just the stress.
It's the stress.
And so you can't blame people for saying, well, why not stay at home with the kids? Yeah. Why not? I would love to. I would love to be a house dad. I've always put that out there. For a year or 2.
For a year. I don't know. I mean, I like it. I love the kids. I love being with them, but I think I would go crazy if it was all.
If you had to do it for a long time.
Yeah, but that's just me. That's just my personality. I know plenty of, my sister loves it. She has like a part-time job. She likes doing that just fine.
Get a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Well, right on. Well, cool. This article's gone on long enough. We'll kind of end it today. We'll see you guys next time on the